Welcome to the Overlady Reads, the show where I, Ben, also known as the Overlogibus, his wife, the Overlady, also known as Lucy, reads books like Oathbringer, but not yet, and oh my god, I can't remember the name of any books. Mistborn,
yeah,
Mistborn, and Warbreaker, and Elantris. But today, you've been reading Way of Kings.
Yeah.
And this is part 2 of our Way of Kings kind of analysis review, whatever this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you haven't watched part 1, this is in the description. It's probably got the same title as this video, except for instead of saying part 2, it says part 1. And yeah, so go watch that and let's jump right into it.
So part 3, can you stop pointing at me? That's really fucking me.
First, recap, we did part 1 and 2 in the first video, and we ended part 2 with Dalinar digging a ditch, Kaladin just in a mental ditch of depression, Shallan is in a Yasna ditch, and anyone else?
No, we're good.
No, we're good. Cool. Right, let's go.
Okay.
Part 3.
Cool. So part 3 is called Dying.
Yes.
And on my notes, I've got the words written down. If somebody doesn't die, I'm not going to be happy.
You literally turned your Kindle to me and you're like, this section is called Dying, and if someone doesn't die, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
So were you disappointed, Lucy?
I was not.
Good.
I got 2 kind of character deaths, and that's okay.
Yes.
I can settle for that.
Good.
So the epigraphs of part 3 are Yasna's research.
Yes.
So they were quite interesting. It's quite cool to see the things that she's been looking at.
It's giving you little crumbs of things that will come up later on, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with Shallan talking to her family.
Yeah.
So we get more of Balot.
Non-Balot. Well, Balot is Nan is the first name that you give for your first child.
Cool.
Yes.
So we get more of him.
Get more Balot, yeah.
And I quite like him. And he's like, hey, you know that soul caster that we gave you? The guy died. We don't have a way to use it.
Yeah.
And she's like, cool. Gonna steal it anyway. We're just gonna have to hope for the best because we have no other strategy.
This is their last chance.
There is nothing else that we can do to get ourselves out of this situation, so we are just gonna have to go for it.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Okay. And then Shallan goes to join Yasna to do some research.
Yeah.
And the king joins them for lunch.
Oh, Taravangian.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a nice old man, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a lovely king.
He's a great king. He has lots of hospitals that help people.
Yeah, well, at this point in the book, he does.
Yeah.
Well, that we know of.
Yeah.
So they're having lunch, and it's getting quite heated between him and Yasna.
Okay.
And he's like, Shallan, came for you to draw my picture. So she draws his picture.
Yes.
And she's not really paying attention. She's focused on the conversation that's going on.
Yeah.
And when she looks down, she's drawn these 2 figures behind him with these patterned faces.
Yeah.
So she freaks out.
Understandably
She,
so.
Will not let anyone see this drawing. And she's like, I'll make you a new one. Don't worry about it.
She's like, oh no, it was just rubbish. I just didn't get your eyes right. It's all fine.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So she has no idea what's going on with that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What did you think about those dudes when you first saw them?
Yeah, I didn't really know what
to make of
them because obviously they're not physically there.
Yes.
She sort of seems to be seeing them somehow.
With her her art sense, whatever it is.
Yeah. And it's the same figures that the king was talking about.
Yes, a lot of people don't pick up on this.
Oh.
Yeah, but Elokar is also seeing the same figures.
Yeah, he was talking about how no one takes the figures that he sees seriously. And they're the same people. So there's clearly some sort of link or connection between them. I'm sure we'll find out some more about. I don't think this is the last I'm seeing of those guys. So Yasna is studying the Void Bringers.
Yes.
And I was trying to work out maybe why she's studying them.
Okay.
I thought maybe she was trying to find out what had happened to the heralds.
Okay.
Or like the shard people.
Blades.
Knights of Radiance.
The Knights of Radiance, yeah.
Because obviously that part of history is mostly lost.
Yes.
People don't really know what happened there. So I thought maybe it had something to do with that.
Yeah.
And Shallan has worked out that it's probably a good idea to try and steal the Soulcaster from Yasna when she's bathing. Because during the day she's always wearing it.
Yeah.
And at night it gets locked in a safe. So there is no way that she can steal it at any of those points.
Yeah.
The only time that she's not got it on her person is when she's bathing.
Yeah.
So makes sense. Steal it when she's in a bath.
Yeah.
So she's just waiting for an opportunity to do that. And then Yasna gives her the opportunity. So she gets to,
Yasna's like, hey, do you want to come hang out with me in the bath?
Yeah.
And Shallan's like, heck yeah, I do.
I mean, I wish there was more scenes of them bathing together,
That's
but
fair.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's not bathing with her, but I wish there were.
Yeah. I think we all do, Lucy. Don't worry, I think we all do.
So she's got the opportunity to steal the Soulcaster.
Yeah.
And she's having doubts because she's come to like Yasna over this last few weeks. Months, weeks, I'm not quite sure.
It is, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She likes her.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, actually, she's not as reckless and dangerous as I first thought she would be.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if I want to steal it from her anymore. Maybe if I talk to her, she might be willing to just come back with me, make a mine for my family.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to studying. Like, maybe I can work something else out. So she decides to take her on a practical philosophy lesson.
And everyone remembers where this is going, right?
So she puts clothes on.
Yeah.
They walk out into the middle of... I know. They walk out into the middle of, like, the dodgiest part of the city.
Yeah.
And she is just waiting.
Yeah.
And then some guys obviously come to attack. And she kills them.
Just murders the shit out of them.
Using her shardcaster.
Soulcaster.
Soulcaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's turns to Shallan and she's like, well, tell me, was that a good thing to do?
I think, okay, we're trying to keep this at a reasonable time, but we could probably spend like an hour just talking about the morality and the various points of view that you can have on this situation.
Oh, yeah, because I am very, very in two minds about it. Because I can understand both points very reasonably.
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't know where to fall on this issue.
Yeah, because it's a pair of women should be able to go walking down a dark alleyway at night without being accosted. On the other hand, Yasna knew they would be accosted and walked down that alleyway specifically because she wanted to kill. Well, she wanted to kill them to kill them. Like that was her. So it's like,
I can completely get it.
Yeah,
it's definitely one that I can understand there being a lot of opinions about.
Oh yeah, we're still arguing about this one 10 years later.
And then after that, Shallan is like, whoa, she is reckless. She should not have this weapon.
Yeah.
This is not a good idea at all. I am taking that thing. So when they get back to the room and she's helping her undress, she steals it.
Oh yeah.
She replaces it with her broken one. And that's where we leave her for a little bit.
Yeah. Is that the end of her part 3 story? No. Okay.
No.
I remember I have the
It's certainly not.
I have the 2-parter Way of Kings, where it's the 2 smaller leather bounds. Not leather bounds. And the 2 smaller paperbacks, and the midpoint in the 2 volumes is the lessons. The chapter ends with Shallan being like, well, I'm going to steals it, and then that's like, I'm like, oh, and then I have to buy the second part. It's good. It's a good point to end on. I thought that was the climax of the book when I first read it. That's like, because I was like, oh, it's just part 1, and then the part 2 is the next book. So I thought that was the climax of the book, and I was like, wow, what a climax. And then I was like, there's another half of the book left. It was great.
It's a big book.
It's a big book.
Then we have some more of...
Kaladin?
No. Capsule.
Okay.
More of Capsule.
Yeah.
Bringing Shallan bread and jam. Taking her out to eat her bread and jam. Hiding from the other priests because he doesn't want them to see him.
And why?
Yeah, I was unsure about
Capsule.
Capsule
Yeah.
before this point. Like, I wasn't quite sure. Like, I just felt that there was something not quite right about him.
Yeah.
As soon as he hid in the bush from the priests, I was like, he's not a priest.
Yeah.
He's not a priest. He's got ulterior motives. And he says to her, I can understand why she thinks that I'm trying to steal the Soulcaster, but why? Pointless.
Yeah, Ardent, she's got dozens of them.
Well, it makes them... It's too big of a target, because as soon as you steal that, you've got the wrath of the king coming down on you. So he was like, no, like, if I wanted to take her out, I'd take her out in another way. Do you want some more bread?
Look at this jam that I'm putting on the bread.
So yeah, at that point, I didn't think that he was an Ardent. I thought that he was, like, someone trying to take her down.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know how. I was still trying to work out if he was just sort of seeing Shalon in order to get her to do something on his behalf, or whether... I don't know. Yeah. I just didn't trust him. Yeah. And now I knew for sure that he was not part of the Ardents.
Yes.
But I had no idea where his storyline was going to take him. So Shalon starts trying to practice with the Soulcaster. She can't get it to work.
Nope.
No matter what she tries, it's just not working for her. So as she's sitting with Casbul, she tells him that she's going to be leaving in the morning and that things can't go any further between them.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to do some research with Yasna, sort of leaving him, feeling like he's been rejected. So she goes to try and do some more research with Yasna, and she, Capsule turns up, and he's like, you didn't draw me yet, can you just draw me? So she's like, okay, fine, I'm leaving in the morning, I'll draw you, and then we're done. So she draws a portrait of him, and he tries to pay her, and she refuses. And he's like, well, I commissioned another one. Do one of me and you together. And she's like, okay. So she gets him to hold a mirror so that she can see her reflection next to him.
Oh, God, yes, I remember this bit.
Yeah, and then she starts doing a drawing. And then when she looks down, she's drawn the strange people in the background again. Mm-hmm. She freaks out. She runs out the room. As she gets in the lift, she starts subconsciously, like, drawing again, and she looks at the page, and there's people in the hallway, like, staring down at her in the lift.
Yes.
And as she's running through the palace, she keeps she's drawing, and she just keeps drawing these strange people. Yeah. She gets back to her room. She somehow, like, I think one of them, like, talks to her. Yeah. And asks her what she is. Yes. And then it transports her to a strange place that's just made of balls. Yeah. And she does not understand what's going on at all. And she reaches out for a glass. Yeah. And suddenly the glass turns to blood. And then she's back in her room. And there's this huge pile of blood. Yeah. And she's freaking out. And Yasna, obviously seeing her running out the library, has followed her.
He's like, you right there, Shalon?
And she's like, oh no. She's going to see this blood. She's going to know it's soul casted. I need to cover this up somehow. What do I do? Yeah. So she grabs a bit of the broken glass and cuts her arm. Yeah. To try and make it look like she slipped and cut herself by accident. Yeah. So Yasna sees the blood coming out from under the doorway. She opens the door and she's like, what?
And she's like, I accidentally cut myself.
No, because she's like, she's cut too deep. So she's like... lost a lot of blood of her own at this point, and she is just out of it.
Do you know what it's like? It's like the scene at the end of Marriage Story with Adam Driver where he accidentally cuts himself with the blade and just blood starts going. He's like, just cut myself, just accidentally cut myself.
Yeah. So she gets taken to hospital. Yeah. And she comes round and she's got a guard watching her. Well, an Ardent watching her. Yeah. Because they've assumed it's a suicide attempt because it's a cut on the arm and it's quite deep.
And there was a lot of blood. There's not supposed to be this much blood when the person lives. Yeah. Kind of blood.
And she's sort of lying there in the bed and she's drawing and she's still seeing the strange people, but they're sort of like at the corners of the room. They're not coming any closer this time. Yeah. watching her from a distance. They also don't trust her at this point. Yeah. So the king comes in to visit because he's doing his daily hospital visits that he does.
Because he's a good king.
And she's like, I'm okay. Can I please have some company? He's like, And she's like, please. So he finally lets Yasna come and join her. So she's joined by Capsule, who blames himself because he's put too much pressure on her. Yasna also blames herself for pushing her too hard to study.
Yeah.
And they both sort of agree that maybe she shouldn't be here anymore. She should go home to her family. And she's like, cool.
She's like,
thank goodness I can leave. No one suspects me. I stole a Soulcaster a couple of weeks ago and Yasna's still not suspicious. And then Capsule, as a special treat, has brought her some strawberry jam to go with her bread because she's never had strawberries before because they only grow in Shinovar, and they're quite hard to get outside of Shinovar. So Yasna's like, I don't know what a strawberry is. Can I smell it? And she like sticks her finger in the jar. And Shalon's like, okay. And then
so I plan on eating that, Jasna, but I guess not.
Yeah, and then she wipes it off of her hand. She doesn't want it. So Shalon's like, come on, it's the last time that we're going to be here. Can you just have some bread with us? So she's like, okay, I'll have some bread. So they all take a bit of bread. Capsule.
Oh my God, when you say stuff wrong, it makes me say it wrong.
I don't know words. He unscrews a jar, he sniffs it, and he's like, oh, this has gone bad. We can't have this.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's okay, we'll just have the bread without. And he's like,
He's like, maybe let's not.
So they all have a bit of bread, and then he quickly like shoves a handful of jam in his mouth. And he's like, please, have some jam, Shalon. And she's like, no, I'm okay. And then he panics and he tries to run out of the room and he collapses.
Yeah.
And then she tries to go to him and she collapses as well. And Yasna's like, they've been poisoned. I haven't got the right gem in my Soulcaster. Can someone just get me this gem?
Yeah.
And Shalon's like, there's one in my safe pocket.
Yeah.
So she reaches into the safe pocket and the Soulcaster comes out. And so that's where we leave them for part 3 with Shalon and Cosmere being poisoned.
Yeah.
Yasna now knows that she swapped her Soulcaster, and it's a big old mess.
Yes. Now, by the end of part 3, what were you thinking about the scribbled people?
So,
I see in your notes you've called them scribble people, so I thought I'd call them that.
I don't have any other name for them at this point, because we've only met them a couple of times in the vision.
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe they were some sort of, like, either a Spren or a shard splinter.
Okay.
Because at this point I was convinced that Seal was a splinter of the Honor Shard.
Yeah.
Because she's constantly talking about how she's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a god.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so she's definitely a splinter shard.
Yeah.
And then Honor gets mentioned at some point. Honor is mentioned in Hoyd's letter, I believe.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so the Honor Shard must be here. She must be a splinter of Honor. And that's why she gets so offended when Kaladin, like, lies and when he goes to fight and things like that. Like, she doesn't like it. So that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe these strange scribble people were also a splinter of a shard.
Okay.
Obviously not Honor, because they're
not
different from Honor.
Yeah, they're different from Seal.
These ones are black. Yeah. And she's white. So
they're bluish whitey.
Yeah, so they're clearly not the same.
Yeah.
So they must be a splinter of another shard.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the black scribble people are a splinter of the cultivation shard.
Cultivation is the other shard. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one at the moment.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where we leave Shalon.
Yes.
Kaladin.
You go to Kaladin.
Kaladin. So his men have started joining him. They're coming to the campfires every night to have food with him. They're slowly starting to bond and talk and learn each other's names. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to join him for his morning exercises. And because of this, they're starting to get better at their skill. Gaz and the guy in charge of Gaz, his name's not important.
Yeah.
They don't like it because they're like, no, it's giving them hope.
Yeah.
Bridgemen aren't seeing themselves as disposable anymore. This is a problem for us.
He's organising them too much.
So Gaz is watching Kaladin's training session, and Kaladin, being as wonderful as Kaladin is, just wants to protect his men. So he's worked out that they're not allowed to have shields or armour, but if they hold the bridge in a certain way, they can shield themselves from the oncoming arrows.
Yeah.
So he started to train his men with holding the bridge sideways when they do the final assault. And Gaz is watching, and Gaz is like, what is this?
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, look, I had an idea. And Gaz is like, I need you dead. You're going to try something different that's likely to get you killed. Yeah, done. You do it. You do you, Kaladin.
He's like, go for it.
So they've been practicing for a little while, and they have gone on other bridge runs, and they've had lots of success. Like, he's not had many men dying in the last few runs. They then go on a bridge run, and Kaladin decides it's on the tower, which no prince has ever won on the tower at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's a weirdly shaped plate.
Yeah, with several large chasms around it. And
so because of that, no one's had success there, because when you put your bridges down, there's not enough room to sort of maneuver your troops properly.
Yeah.
So Kaladin, knowing that this is a big run, decides to try his new formation.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly.
Goes great.
Absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
To the point that the other bridge crews try to imitate. And they can't do it because they've not practiced, and they're not strong enough.
It's an absolute
and not just
disaster.
But the other army has worked out that because they're using the bridge to shield themselves, they can't hit them. So they start pelting the other bridges instead and ignore Kaladin's bridge. So Kaladin's bridge gets put down perfectly ahead of all the others.
Yeah.
He looks back, and lots of the bridges have fallen because they've lost all their men. It's chaos behind him.
Yes.
And he has a moment where he's realised that he has jeopardised this whole assault.
He has singularly ruined this bridge run.
Yes. And it's not going to be good. So Gaz and the other guy come over, and they're like, what?
So what have you
Kaladin's
done?
like, right, well, everyone saw you talking to me before this run. They know that you approved this. Best thing to do, beat me so it looks like you're repressing me.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell Sadie's that it was all my fault, and I'll get punished for this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
They beat him up too much.
Mm-hmm.
Kaladin is completely unconscious.
Yep.
He wakes up and he's tied to the outside of the barracks.
Yeah.
The guy in charge is dead.
Oh yeah, he gets executed, doesn't he?
Because he agreed to this.
Yeah.
Gaz is not in a good place.
Nope.
Everyone is very, very mad at Gaz. And Kaladin's punishment is that he is going to be judged by the storm.
Yes.
And then the storm comes. Oh my goodness.
He has to face the high storm.
That was just the best moment in this chapter.
It's so good.
He is hanging from the side of the building.
Yeah.
He's being pulled around by the wind.
He is like at the end of the rope, just being lashed about.
Like, he is so close to death.
Yeah.
And then he breathes in the storm, and he survives.
Oh, yeah.
He sees a face in the storm.
He sees a big old face.
It is very, very cool.
It's literally one of them. Like, it's such a high point in the middle of that book. It's just like, yes.
And then his men will come out the next morning and see that he's still alive. Mm-hmm. So they take him back into their barracks, and
he regains his old nickname, Stormblast.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So Kaladin is very close to death. He is covered in those death spreen those rot spreen.
Yes.
And his men are like taking turns to like watch over him.
Yeah.
And
then he sees the little sill, like, protecting him from the others, from the death Spren.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
It's so cute. She's got a little sword.
Yeah.
I love that imagery.
Yeah.
Teft has the idea because Teft kind of knows about
He knows
Stormblessed.
things, yes. He knows about, like, the Night Radiance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has the idea, because he's noticed that their spheres keep getting used up very quickly.
Yeah.
And Kaladin sort of has a bit of a glow about him. And he had put a spear in Kaladin's hand just before execution by Storm.
Yeah.
And when they retrieved Kaladin, it was completely used up. And obviously those things charged during a storm.
So it should have been fully charged.
Yeah. So he was like, something's not right here.
Yeah.
So then he gets a couple of his spheres and he hands them to Kaladin. And when he opens Kaladin's hand back up, they're used up and he's healed slightly, like ever so slightly. So over the next few days, he takes it upon himself to put a couple of spheres in his hand every day so that he can slowly recover, so it doesn't look too suspicious. And after 10 days, he is completely healed and he's walking around fine. And obviously everyone's like, mate, I will follow you to the end of the earth now.
Oh yeah.
So now his support is massive. All of the soldiers are trying to like come and get a sneak peek because nobody has survived one of these storms before. It's
not something you survive.
And there is nothing that Sadeas can do about that now.
Yeah.
Like, he
Maybe
can't...
they strung him up. That's the punishment.
Yeah.
He's already a bridgeman. What else can you do?
Yeah. So he goes back to training with his mates.
Yeah.
After he had recovered.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was... I think it was the new head of the bridges.
Yeah.
He tells Kaladin, you know, none of you are supposed to survive. You are bait. You are nothing. You're supposed to die. That is your only purpose. Don't want you to survive. Like, you mean nothing to us. And Kaladin can't get over this, knowing that there is nothing he can do at this point to save his men.
Yeah.
And he starts spiraling again.
Yeah.
Because at this point, he's got nothing else.
He's built like a little community.
Yeah. And the new guy, as a punishment, has assigned permanent work jobs. So he puts Kaladin and his team on chasm duty every day.
Yes.
So whilst they're down there, Kaladin has a moment where he takes a spear.
Yes.
And he starts like doing like a practice dance with it, and everyone's like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I can train you guys with these. And I can't save you in these bridge runs anymore, but if I train you, maybe we can take down a couple of guards and escape.
Yeah.
So he starts training them to use spears.
Yeah.
Kaladin, I think it's during the next storm, maybe. He has a fever dream where he sees Seth.
Okay.
Like, murdering some people.
Okay.
Like, he sees quite a lot of things in a storm, but one of the things he sees is Seth.
Okay.
And there's this voice over the top, and it calls him the Child of Honor. That's what led me to the whole Syl being an honor shard splinter.
Yeah.
Because if he's a Child of Honor, and this little screen is like following him around everywhere, she must be part of that.
Yeah.
The voice says that Odium is coming.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first time you'd heard the name Odium in this book?
Yes.
Yes.
So then I thought, is Odium a shard?
Okay.
And if he's coming, that means that he's not currently on Roshar, he's on his way. Yeah. So that made me think of the cloud that's sitting above Scadrial.
Okay.
Like whether that was like him making his way over, because obviously Sazed doesn't know what that cloud is and he's trying to work out what that is.
Yeah.
So if that was another shard, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Kaladin mentions Odium to Syl. She hisses at him and like runs away. So there's clearly something going on with this Odium guy.
Yeah.
So I spent quite a lot of time sort of trying to come up with theories about Odium.
Okay, cool.
I'm just going to drop those in there now.
Go for it.
In case I forget them later.
Yeah.
So, Odium. first theory is that he is a shard. Second theory is that he's on his way to Roshar, and maybe he's that big cloud thing.
Yeah.
The third one is if he's on his way here, that means that he must have been to some other planets.
Okay.
And I know that on other planets there are deceased shards.
Yes.
So that made me think, is Odium killing the shards?
Okay. Yeah.
And then with those other planets, he doesn't take the shards, so he's not killing them to take the shards.
Yeah.
I think he's killing them so that he's the only shard left. So that's my current sort of Odium theory with Odium.
Yes. That's some good Odium theorizing. That is right there.
Thank you.
Do you know what the word Odium means?
No.
Okay, so it's unlike other shards, which are pretty self-explanatory, ruin, preservation, blah, blah, blah. Odium is like the only one so far with a name that's like Odium.
Yeah.
Where it's not like an English word, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's I believe it's a Latin word, and it kind of means something like repugnant. Something hateful, something not good, like something that's it's generally displeasing thing.
Okay, so he's a shard that hates other shards.
Something like that.
Cool.
Yeah, he's just a generally unpleasant shard.
Yeah,
he's very odious.
Oh, he did get mentioned before then.
He does. Well,
because
doesn't.
Hoyd mentions
race.
Yes. Okay, so Odium is race.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That makes more sense.
Cool. Good. Yeah.
So yeah, because Hoyd mentions that
80
was
a kind and gentle soul before he took up ruin.
But race is not.
But race was always a horrible, horrible, despicable little man. Yeah.
So he's going to be fun.
So Odium's going to be fun. Yeah.
So those are my current Odium
Excellent.
thoughts.
Yeah, excellent.
I don't think I've got any more thoughts on him at any other
this time.
point.
Cool.
So then Kaladin is out exploring the market.
Yeah.
And he sees a soldier dragging one of the whores out of the whorehouse. Like she's not got a lot of clothing on. And he's getting very angry with her because she asked him to pay for her services. And do you not know who I am?
He's like, you should be paying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
Yeah.
So then he drags her out in the middle of the square. And luckily this is like a place where all of the different war camps visit.
Yeah.
And Adolin happens to be walking past. And he's like, dude, cool it.
Yeah.
He's like, what? You gonna make me? And so he pulls out his sharp blade and he's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah.
I am. So the other soldier backs away immediately and leaves. Yeah. So Kaladin was about to step in before Adolin had arrived.
Yeah.
So Adolin steps in and he's like, come on, I'll take you back to our camp. I'll get you somewhere nice. Don't worry about payment for anything because I don't want your services. I'm a good man.
Yes.
And then he's like, hey, you there, bridge man. I was on my way to a meeting. I can't make it anymore. Here's an emerald sphere. Go and tell the guy that I can't make it. And Kaladin's like, oh, cool, I'm just going to take the money. I don't owe you anything.
He's like, this is worth like 100 clear chips.
It's like, I owe you nothing. I'm taking the money. I'm just going to go and buy stuff for my guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much Kaladin. After that, there's just a bit more training in the chasms, and Rock and Syl are working together to try and map out the chasms so they can sort of plan a possible escape route through the chasms.
Yeah.
So we then have some flashbacks of Kaladin, and he's a teenager, and some of the men from the village have come to try and rob his dad from the big bowl of spears that he was given. And he's like, are you not men of honor? Like, I have lived here all my life. I have treated you. I've treated your families, and this is the payment you're going to give me.
Yeah.
And they back away.
Oh yeah, Lirin is a bit of a badass.
Yeah, and that's when Kaladin realizes that he doesn't have to train to be a soldier to be strong. His dad is strong.
Yeah.
And he can be like that as well. So that's when he kind of makes a decision that he's going to be a surgeon. He's not going to go off and be a soldier.
Yeah.
And then in the next vision, Rashon.
Yes.
Rashon and his son have a hunting accident.
Oh yes, they do, don't they?
And so they get brought in, and there is no way he can save the son. He's got multiple wounds, he's bled out a lot.
Oh, he's
There's
like
a giant tusk sticking out of his stomach.
Yes.
There is no saving this guy. So he moves on to Roshan.
Yeah, Rashon.
Who is like, no, save my son. And he's like, I can't, but I can save you.
Yeah.
He's like, no, work on my son. You're letting him die. And he's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So he knocks Roshan
out
so that he can't keep arguing with him. He fixes him up. He gets the tusk out of his leg. He realizes it was millimeters from hitting an important artery that would have had him bleeding out as well.
Yeah.
And his scalpel lingers for a few minutes.
Oh, yes, I remember this now, yes.
And then he stitches him up.
Yeah.
And like after everything's cleared up, Kaladin's outside just hanging, and his dad comes to join him. He's like, if I wasn't there, would you have done that? And his dad's like, no, like, I did this to protect people. I didn't do this to kill people. As tempting as it was, I wouldn't have done. I would have helped him because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Rashon is not happy about the fact that his son died.
No, understandably so.
Yep. And then when the recruiters come back around, he can't draft Kaladin's dad because of...
Because he's a surgeon.
He's a surgeon,
Second
and because the rank...
He's second Narn. You have the Narn for dark eyes, Darn for light eyes, and there's 7 ranks.
Yeah.
And because he's second Narn because he's a surgeon, he can't be conscripted.
And not just that, but because Kaladin is his assistant, Kaladin can't be conscripted. Doesn't stop him from conscripting
Tien. Yeah.
So he purposely makes sure that he gets drafted because you took my son, I'm taking yours.
Yeah.
And so Kaladin Katniss Everdeen's himself. He volunteers as tribute.
Yeah.
He gets told that, no, you can't go in his place.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going with him. I can't have my little brother going out into war by himself. He's like 12?
Yeah. Maybe 11?
He's like 11, and the guy's like, look, don't worry, I will make sure that he's just an errand boy. He's not going to be fighting. And Kaladin's like, no, I don't trust you, I'm going. I'm protecting my brother. Another flashback starts, and it's the middle of a war, and Kaladin is desperately trying to find his brother's battalion.
Yeah.
He's going around the place. He finally manages to find his brother, who, because they're low on numbers, they've just given him a spear, put him in the middle of the front line of a load of troops, and just decided that's his place. Yeah. Because don't want one of our light eyes dying.
No,
you're disposable.
Yes.
So this poor little 13-year-old is in the middle of this big battle, never held a spear before.
No combat training.
And Kaladin finally reaches him just as the front line from the opposite army reaches him. Yeah. And he gets to watch his little brother die.
Yeah.
And then to be told afterwards, well, he's disposable.
So why do you care? Yeah.
Such a horrible moment.
It's rough. Yeah.
And then in the next flashback, it's the battle that we saw earlier on in the book.
Oh, yes, we get to see Sen again. Yes.
Yeah, we see Sen again. But obviously we see it from Kaladin's point of view this time.
Yeah.
So Kaladin kills the first. He's not a shard bearer, but he's a high rank light eyes officer. Yeah. And then he turns around and sees a shard bearer murdering all of his men. Yeah. So Kaladin chases him down. Kaladin destroys him. He works out there is one weak spot in the armor, and that's the eye holes. Yeah. So he stabs him through the eye hole.
Stabs that dude in the eye hole.
So then he gets to claim the shard armor and the shard blade. Yeah. But he's looking at it. It's the thing that he's always kind of wanted. Yeah. But he's just seen this guy tear through his men. Mm-hmm. Just kill them without any regard. And he's like, I don't want to wield this blade. Yeah. So he gives them to his sort of second in command. Yeah. He's like, he's a good soldier. He'll make the most of it. It's fine. So then he gets called into
Amaram's
war tent.
Yeah.
And Amaram walks in with Kaladin's last few men.
Yeah.
The shard plates, the shard blade, and he's like, "These are yours." And Kaladin's like, "No,
I don't want them.
I don't want them. I gave them to this guy because he can use them well. He'll fight well for you. He'll be your champion. It's all good."
Yeah.
And Amaran's like, "Cool. Dispose of them."
Yeah.
So then his guards kill Kaladin's last remaining men because they're witnesses. Because he's decided that these things are valuable. I'm having them for myself.
Yeah.
And no one's going to believe you, Kaladin, because I'm going to brand you as a slave and say you're a deserter.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, damn. I was going to say, it's because the reason Amaram does it is not because it's not just because he wants them for himself. He does it specifically because Kaladin gives it to his man. Like, he is just angry that, like, this man is doing something against everything Amaran holds dear.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Such a good moment.
It's a very good moment. Question. If you were in Amaram's position, what would you have done? Would you have done the same?
No.
No?
I think that I would have paid the guys off to never speak about the incident.
Okay.
I would have taken that guy in his shard blades and armor and been like, "Yo, be my champion."
Yeah.
If he had refused, I would have killed him. Because why not?
Yeah.
But if I can have someone wielding that and I don't have to step into the battle,
okay,
why not?
Fair enough. Yeah, I think one of the reasons that I find what Amaram did so, like, horrifying is because I feel if I was in the same position, I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it's horrible. I understand that it's a horrible, horrible thing to do. But I'm like, but in that situation, I'm like, I get it. I get it. And that's like...
Oh, no, I can completely understand why he did it.
Yeah.
Completely understand.
Yeah.
It's just such a dick move.
Such a dick move.
Such a dick move. I hope that he doesn't turn up at the war camp anytime soon.
Oh, boy.
Interludes.
So then we get the part 3 interludes. That's the end of part 3. And we get some fun interludes.
Yes. So the first one is Baxil and Av.
Yeah.
And they're following Mistress.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't recognize those names, it's because those aren't the important people in that interlude.
Mistress is in a palace, just casually walking along, destroying all of the works of art that she sees.
Mm-hmm.
She's not there to steal anything. She doesn't do stealing. She's not there to kill anyone. She's just there to destroy the art.
Yeah.
Love Mistress.
Mistress is great.
It made me think of back in the prologue when we were at Gavilar's palace.
Yeah.
One of his Knights of Radiance statue was broken.
Yes.
I can't.
One of his Herald statues.
Herald,
yes.
Sorry.
That's an important distinction.
I know it's an important distinction, but like, there's just too much going on.
There's a lot of going on in these books.
But one of his statues is broken.
Yep.
So I think that she did that.
Okay.
Something feels like she did it.
You are. I'm going to let you know. You're definitely correct there.
Cool.
That was.
I think that she did it for personal reasons.
Okay.
I think that the reason that she's like destroying like artwork and stuff is maybe she's like got some kind of connection to like someone in history.
Okay.
And she's like trying to destroy their records.
Okay.
So like I wondered if maybe she was like related to that herald.
Okay.
And that's why she'd only destroyed that one. Because she didn't need to destroy the others.
Yeah.
And that's why she goes to different palaces to try and make sure that she gets rid of all sort of records of him.
Okay.
So that's my current theory on her. I also thought potentially, if that's not true, I thought maybe she was a world hopper because I've decided that every interlude they're world hoppers.
But it's a pretty good chance if it's an interlude, there's probably going to be a world hopper in there.
So I thought that maybe she was Vivian.
Oh,
Vivenna.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I thought maybe she was the only sort of female that I could think of that might be a world hopper.
Yeah.
So that's where I put that one, because I was like, I have no idea who this woman is.
Yes.
If my art theory turns out to be a load of rubbish, I'm going to go for Wild Hopper.
Okay, that's fine.
So that's my current thoughts on her. And then we go to Gerenard?
The Random Ardent.
The Random Ardents.
Yeah.
One of them enjoys cooking and cooking up lots of different, like, strange cuisines.
Yes.
The other is researching Spren.
Yeah.
And they come to the conclusion that they stop changing form and moving around when they're observed. And after they've been observed, they don't change anymore. I feel like that's going to be an important thing that comes up at some point.
So what that... am I happy to give you the answer to this one?
Yeah.
So what that is supposed to be showing is because Spren are creatures of the cognitive realm.
Yeah.
They're obviously not, like physical because they're not real in real life. So they are creatures of the cognitive realm, which means they're shaped by thought.
Yeah.
So when you measure a Spren and record it, what you're essentially doing is you are fixing that Spren in that what you recorded it to be. Because in your mind, that thing is now this thing, and so it stays that thing. And so that's what that kind of chapter's telling you is, hey, these things are shaped by thought.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And then, I don't like this.
Oh no, which one's this one?
Zeth.
Yeah.
So Zeth, under his new master, is assassinating the targets on his list.
Yeah.
And he's been sent to go and kill the Shin King?
Not the Shin King. He doesn't kill he kills the King Yakaved. He kills a bunch of kings.
I know he kills a bunch of kings. He goes to kill an important king.
I think it's the Vaden king at this point.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Killing a king.
Yeah.
He turns up at the palace and discovers that there is a party in full swing.
Yeah.
And he's like, great, I was told to do this violently, and there's a lot more people here than I want there to be.
Yeah.
So he has to. When he goes to confront the king has 2 shard bearers with him.
Yeah.
The king is also a shard bearer. He's got a shard blade. And the king just tells him straight up, I threw this party on purpose because I knew you were coming. And poor Says is like crying through this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Because he's got to kill all these people that he doesn't want to kill.
Yeah.
Oh, so horrible.
That man is going through some crap in this book.
I mean, luckily he's like, well, at least I can blame the deaths on you.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? Because Zeth... So the way that the Oathstone kind of works, or not works, but the way that Zeth kind of works is it's his fault he is a slave. It's his fault he has been turned into Truthless. Therefore, anything that someone asks him to do is his fault. So even though he's been ordered to kill these people, it's still those deaths are still his responsibility.
Yeah.
So when he finds out the king threw the party because he knew he was coming, he's like, "Thank God, these deaths, they're your fault because you knew I was coming."
Yeah.
And so he's like, finally, is a slight reprieve from the horror that is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, he still didn't want to.
He still doesn't want to, but
those people.
Yeah.
Part 4.
Part 4. So what did you think of Part 4 then, Lucy?
So Part 4 was great. Part 4 was where the book got good. Part 4 is where everything that's been building up comes out.
Oh my God.
So good.
Part 4 is where the book gets great.
Yeah.
Like everything's been building to this part. Like this is all the groundwork's been laid. Let's get to this climax.
Yes. So it starts with Dalinar having a flashback.
Yeah.
And this one is of 300 Knights of Radiance just turning up on a battlefield.
Oh, the Feverstone Keep vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They discard their shard plates.
Yeah.
They discard their shard weapons. And they just walk off.
Mm-hmm.
And Dalinar's following like, what's going on? What's going on? And none of them will talk to him.
Yeah. And then all the soldiers in Feverstone Keep like run out the gates and start grabbing the shard and immediately start killing each other to keep them. Yeah.
It's a good vision.
It's a good vision. It's a fun thing to mention about this vision. So in this vision, Dalinar specifically mentions that the fact that this one group of Radiants discarding their shard plate and shard blades, this is more shard blades and shard plate that exist in the world. And Dalinar knows this. He's a Shardbearer himself. He knows this kind of thing. And he's like, this is just one group on one battlefield, and they are throwing away...
they all came together.
No, as in, like, he's like, this is one massive group of... This is like 300 Radiants, but this isn't even all the Radiants. Like, there are other groups of Radiants, other places giving up their playership. So he's like... So it brings that... He doesn't ask the question, but it brings the question to us of, where are all these Plate and Blade? There should be hundreds of Plate and Blade in the world, and there's dozens, I think, is what's said at some point. And it's like, where's all the missing Shard Plate and Shard Blades?
Well, some of it will have got lost over time.
Absolutely.
I like to think that somebody has Lord Emperored it.
Oh, Lord Rulered it.
Lord Rulered it.
Yeah.
And they've just got this... There's going to be a big chasm somewhere that's just full of shard plates and shard armor.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's coming up.
Definitely. No,
that is where I think it is.
I think a lot of people is someone over the thousands of years collected up all these blades and plates and has sequestered them away somewhere.
Lord Rulered them.
The Lord Rulered them. Lord Rulered them.
So they then have the feast where...
Oh, yes, sorry.
Sadius...
Elakar hosts a feast.
I mean, he hosts one every night.
Yeah.
Hoity-Hoid comes and sits down with Dalinar, and he's like, hey, just coming to tell you that I'm noping out. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here for it, so I'm leaving. See ya.
Yep.
So Hoity disappears.
Yeah.
And then, so Dalinar's on edge because obviously Sadius has been investigating.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if something big's going down, I need all my guards. So he gets at Adolin to make sure his guards are close by.
Yeah.
And then he confronts Sadius and he's like, right, come on, what's the result of your investigation? Tell us now, right now.
Yeah.
So then he's like, well, I wasn't going to, but okay.
Since you're forcing me to.
And then he's like, well, Dalinar didn't do it. The saddle was switched before he got to Dalinar's camp. And the shard plates had been tampered with.
Yeah.
So it had to have been done before he even got there.
Yeah.
So obviously Dalinar's got nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Dalinar's like, okay.
Cool.
I guess we can trust each other now.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't we do some chasm runs together? So Sadius like, okay, but I want most of the gem hearts. And he's like, as long as we're working together, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah, they're old friends. He just wants his friend back.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. We work together. It's all good. We can build our friendship. We can strike a deal. We can protect the king together.
Yeah. All
is good.
Nothing bad can happen now.
So Adolin is then trying to convince Dalinar not to abdicate. He's like, you don't need to step down. I didn't mean to put suspicion in your head. Like, you should still be in charge. Like, don't do this to me. Stay. And he's like, I'll think about it, but then probably still going to step down. Like, I'm a bit done at this point. He then has another one of his, flashbacks during the storm.
Yeah.
And it's where he's walking alongside the king that wrote...
Oh, Noadon. The Noadon vision. Way of Kings book. Yes.
And he's fangirling over him.
Oh yeah, he's probably having a little moment. He's like, oh my god. He's like, don't say the wrong thing. Oh my god.
And he's like, you should write a book. And he's like, mate,
the world's ending.
Why would
I write a book?
I can't write a book. But then that gave Dalinar hope because he was like, well, at least he must have found a way to survive whatever that situation was.
Yeah.
Which means that this book has to be code for
how to survive
and what we should be doing.
Yeah.
He ends up finally kissing Navani.
Yeah.
And it's really cute.
Yeah.
Finally together.
Yeah,
finally with his brother's ex-wife.
I think we call them widows.
Ex-wife.
I was going to say, it was after Navani chasing that tail for however many months it had been.
Yeah,
Dalinar,
she finally managed to break him down.
Yeah. even the Blackthorn isn't impenetrable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the next chapter together, they're going on a nice romantic stroll through the battle armament.
The battlements.
The battlements. I don't know what they're called.
The war camps.
War camps.
Sorry, okay, the war camps, yeah.
They're going on a nice romantic stroll through the war camps when the horns go to say that there's a gem heart to go and collect.
Yeah.
So he races off to the battlefield, and just as he's on his way there, Sadius approaches.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I've had an idea. Why don't we take as many troops as we can get out there? and we'll really go for a big assault. Like, I'll supply all the bridges so that I can get us there quickly.
Yeah.
You just bring every troop that you can manage to bring.
Yeah.
And Dan, I was like, yeah, great idea.
The gems on the tower as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, the gems.
And he's like, we can finally get a gem on the tower.
Finally with the tower, yeah.
So,
and Dan, I was like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this point, I decided to combine characters because they're now all in the same place.
They're basically all in the same place, yeah.
For the Battle of the Tower.
Yes.
So Kaladin has had, after going down in the chasms, and they've got the Parshi that's on his team.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what's he called? What's the Parshman? Sorry, Parshman on Bridge 4. I can't remember your name. Oh my god.
So there's a Parshman on Bridge 4.
Yeah.
He gets assigned to them.
Yeah.
As like their one recruit.
Yeah.
And whilst they're on one of their chasm dives, they go to touch one of the Parshendi bodies, and he freaks out.
Yeah.
And they conclude that the reason that they don't move their dead after battles is because they see that as a really big no-no.
Yeah.
And like, you leave the dead alone.
Yeah.
So Kaladin has a great idea to arm his troops.
Yeah.
They take the armor that's like built into the Parshendi bodies.
Yeah.
They put it all in a bag. Kaladin storm blasts.
Oh, so he lashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He lashes the bag to the bottom of a bridge for one of his guys to collect. And as they're about to go on the final assault, he dons all of this armor.
Mm-hmm.
His guys go and do the normal bridge run. He runs out ahead in full Parshendi armor.
Literally wearing their skin.
Yep. They're very mad.
Oh, they are furious.
Every single arrow that they have is going to Kaladin, which means that his men are not being attacked at all.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is before the tower.
This is before the tower.
This is the battle before the tower, sorry.
Yeah.
So knowing that it works, he gets permission from Sadius to arm his entire bridge with this armor.
Yeah.
In preparation for the tower battle. So they go into the tower battle. They're all wearing the full armor. He is still managing to draw the majority of the arrows because they know that he's the one that's in charge and he did this first.
Yeah.
And it's all working out fine. The battle's going ahead. The bridgemen are just waiting for everything to finish.
Yeah.
Dalinar's team has turned up. They've joined the fight.
Yeah.
And Sadius's team starts coming back.
Yeah, they start.
And they're like, okay, I guess we won the gem heart. We're on our way back then.
Yeah.
So they're at the back, just walking. And then Kaladin notices that the bridges that came with Dalinar are also retreating.
Yep.
And Dalinar's men are still on that plateau.
And they haven't won the gem heart.
Well, I think they won the gem heart.
Oh, okay, they just got surrounded.
But they're leaving the other army behind.
Oh yeah.
And so Kaladin sort of like gets his guys to walk at the back, and he's like, right, something's going down.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity to escape. He convinces the others to keep going ahead. He's like, look, we're tired. We've got a bridge. We'll follow you. And they've decided to trust him. Luckily for Kaladin. So they go ahead because obviously they want to get away from Dalinar's army as quickly as they can.
Yeah.
So they're quite happy to go ahead on this one. And then Kaladin's like, right, guys, we're going to take our bridge. We're going to escape. This is our opportunity. And then Still's like, but Kaladin? Kaladin, you can't.
Isn't that the moment where Still appears as...
Yeah.
Yes.
She appears as a
full
human-sized person.
Yeah.
And she's like, please,
she's horrified.
You can't.
And he's like, you can't leave them.
So then Kaladin's like, guys...
We have to go back.
We have to go and help them. And his men are like, yep, 100% behind you on everything you do, Kaladin.
Yeah.
So they start getting the bridge in place. And Kaladin notices that for some reason the archers on the plateau haven't started firing yet.
Yeah.
And that's when he sees the ones that are coming up behind them.
Yeah.
And obviously his guys are completely exposed from the back. And he's like, no, in trying to do the right thing, I have doomed my men.
Yeah.
So he draws in a lot of stormlight.
Yeah.
And every single arrow, there's like 500 arrows, and they all get drawn to his shield.
And he just like looks at it, it's like thick with arrows. Like, yeah.
Oh, amazing moment.
It's such a good moment.
And then he discards that. He grabs a different shield.
Yeah.
And before his men have started pushing the bridge out into the chasm, he runs across it.
Yeah.
He jumps over onto the other side.
Oh, yeah.
He defends that land.
Yes.
He is holding this bridge all by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, Dalinar's men are on a slight platform, so they've seen that there's a bridge coming back for them.
Yeah.
And they've gone, look, we just have to trust it. We've got to make our way there because we're going to die otherwise. Yeah. So they're making their way over. And Kaladin's like, cool, the majority of the army's over now. Retreat, Light Eyes.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't. We've got to wait for...
all of the men.
Well, no. They specifically had to protect Adolin.
Yes.
So, like, we can't go until he's gone. So Kaladin goes up to him and he's like, get across that bridge now.
Go! I've come back to save you.
And Adolin's like, no, I can't leave without my dad, so no.
Yeah.
And what are you doing trying to tell me what to do? And he's like, no. You go with your men right now. I will protect your dad. Go.
Yeah.
And Adolin very reluctantly follows orders and leaves. He is not happy about it.
No.
And Kaladin goes to help Dalinar, who is currently fighting the Parshendi Shardbearer.
Yeah.
And Kaladin jumps into the fight. He stabs them in the leg.
Yeah.
He manages to get Dalinar out safely. They get back across the plateau.
And it's
you can finally breathe again at this point.
Yeah. It's like cool. I can like stop reading for like 10 seconds maybe.
And then so they start going back to camp, and Dalinar's like, I owe you big time.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're going to escape now because we're going to be put to death otherwise. Like, there is no coming back from this for us.
Yeah.
And Dalinar's like, no, come back with me. I will protect you. And he's like, mate, I don't trust the Light Eyes. Yeah. Dalinar manages to convince him to go with him.
Yeah.
And they go and confront
Sadeas.
Yeah. So obviously Sadeas and his men have got back.
Yeah.
They fed the story to the rest of the camps that Dalinar's team was surrounded. There was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
They had lost too many men. They had taken on too many casualties. They were injured. They had to retreat, otherwise they weren't getting out alive either. And so Navani and
Rushu?
I don't know.
I don't know
his
either.
youngest son's name.
Oh, Renarin.
Renarin.
Okay.
So they go over to Sadie's camp to be like, what is going on here? And he feeds them the same story, and Navani's looking him over, and she's like, he's barely got a scratch on him. His men don't even look tired.
Yeah.
Something's not right. So she draws a gigantic glyph in the ground for justice.
Yeah.
And she sets it on fire.
Yeah.
And as she stands up, Dalinar walks towards them.
Oh, yeah.
With all of Bridge 4 and all of his, like, Kingsguard behind him.
Yeah.
And Sadeas knows he's in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
So Dalinar is like, right, I would like these men. I would like to own all of your bridgemen now. I want them all to come with me. And Sadeas is like, no. He's like, I will pay you 4 times the price for everyone. And he's like, no. And so Dalinar gets out his shard blade.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, big battle. He stabs it in the middle of the glyph.
Yeah.
And he is like, I will give you this. I will give you my shard blade if you give me all of your bridgemen.
Yeah.
And so Sadeas is like, okay.
Okay, like...
I win?
Yeah, like, how is this a bad thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he agrees to it.
Yeah.
And Dalinar gets to give Navani
a big smooch.
Well, no. They embrace tightly.
Oh, okay. They
and
just hug.
His sons are awkwardly stood next to him like, hi, Dad. It's good to see you.
This won't be the last time that Dalinar ignores Renarin.
He's such a good boy. So that is part 4.
Yes.
Oh, such a good part.
What were the epigraphs of part 4?
I don't know if there were epigraphs.
Yeah?
Because part 5 is kind of the epigraphs, really.
Part 5 is like basically a long epilogue, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think there are any epigraphs.
Okay, fair enough.
I've not got any notes for any.
Whatever they were, they did not matter in regard to the cool that was going on.
Yeah, nothing can compare to that. So
you haven't even written them down.
Part 4 done.
Part 4 done.
Part 5.
Part 5. No interludes this time. You just go straight in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we go straight into Shallan, who is lying in a new hospital bed in a private room. And as soon as she wakes up, someone runs out the room. And then Yasna comes in. And she's like, right, so you stole my soulcaster. I don't want you anywhere near me anymore. There is a boat coming tomorrow. You're going on it. You're going home. You're dead to me.
Yeah.
And she walks out and she refuses to talk to her. And so Shallan's just lying in bed, unsure what to do with herself.
Yeah.
She's failed everything. Her family is ruined now. All is lost.
Yep.
So she starts drawing flashbacks to her in the previous hospital bed. And she realizes that when Yasna went to put the bread in her mouth, she soulcasted it away.
Yes.
And not just that, but the jam, when she'd stuck her finger in it...
She'd soulcasted it.
Well, she hadn't complained that it smelt bad or it seemed off. She seemed quite happy with it.
Yeah.
It was only when it then got returned that it was bad.
Yeah.
So she figured that she must have soulcasted it. So she gets up out of the hospital bed.
Yeah.
She goes to the library. She confronts Yasna. She's like, mate.
You don't need a soulcaster, do you?
Yeah. She's like, your soulcaster is fake. And Yasna's like, well, yeah, I don't wear my real one in public. Of course I wear a fake one in public. And she's like, no, I swapped yours 2 weeks ago and you were soulcasting in my hospital room without one.
Yeah.
You don't need it. It's fake. It's not real. And she's like, don't know what you're on about.
What are you going to do about it?
And then Shallan's like, I went to this strange sphere place.
Yeah.
And Yasna's like,
You did what? You did what?
You went where? And Shallan is like, yeah, I know about it. And Yasna's like, there's no proof, nothing, don't believe you. So she's like, I'm taking you there. So she takes them to that place.
So I was like, oh, I'm just going to go jump in then.
And so Yasna pulls around. She's like, what were you doing? You don't even have any spheres on you to bring you back.
Yeah.
What are you doing, girl? But then she's like, I will take you back as my ward.
She's like, well,
because
this means something.
Yeah. You clearly can do the same thing that I can do or something similar. You now know my secret, so I can't have that getting out.
Yeah.
So you've just got to join me at this point.
Yeah.
So good.
It's excellent.
So good. And then she gets her to come and sit with her, and she brings her in on her Voidbringer theory.
Yes. And what's the Voidbringer theory, Lucy?
So, the Voidbringers were a nice, calm, peaceful people with skin of black and red and white.
Yeah.
And they, one day, their personalities just snapped and they switched. And they rampaged.
Yeah.
And the writings perfectly describe the Parshendi.
Yeah. The parchment in general.
The parchment.
Yeah.
The temperament describes the parchment.
Yeah.
And
Shan,
one day the Voidbringers just stopped.
Yeah.
They don't know what happened. They started suddenly, they ended suddenly.
Yeah.
But over the years, people have been discovering that the Parshmen make really good servants because they don't talk and they just do as they're told. And
Shallan looks around at the Palaneum and sees like hundreds of them as just serving people. Or they're the elevators. They do the ropes.
And then she realizes that there isn't a single town in Roshar that hasn't got them.
Mm-hmm.
They are everywhere.
Even Backwater Hearthstone had like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And that's where they leave us.
Yeah.
And they've decided they're going to make their way to the Shard Plains and present this to the big players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We then get Seth.
Yeah.
Who goes to kill the final king on his list.
Yeah.
It is King
Taravangian.
So he goes to confront him. And that's when he reveals that he was his master all along.
Oh!
And
the nice old man! Oh!
He takes him to his hospital.
Yeah.
Where, yes, he provides a free hospital. But to those that aren't going to make it,
yeah,
they get special treatment.
Yeah.
They go to his special room where he drains them of blood.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the blood for anything. He's just trying to kill them quickly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you kill them, they
leave death rattles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the sort of like death notes that you've been getting at the beginning of
the epigraphs, yeah.
The epigraphs are from these people because sometimes they seem to see something in the cognitive realm and they talk about it.
Yeah.
So he's got people that scribe and they record these things to try and work out what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those death rattles are something.
Yeah.
It's Brandon has said that the end of the Stormlight archive is in there somewhere. One of those death rattles in part 1.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Because quite a few of them said like this sample is a particular note.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he gives him a new person to go and kill. Because this person is getting too close to ruining his plan.
Yeah.
His new target is Dalinar.
Mm-hmm.
So Seth is on his way to the Shard Plains to kill Dalinar.
The Shattered Plains.
The Shattered Plains.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Are you looking forward to that, Lucy?
No. Like, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's going to be... Cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want either of them to win that.
Yes. Yeah, you kind of feel bad for Zeth in this situation.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But I also don't want Dalinar to die.
That's fair. Yeah.
He's only just getting good.
Yeah.
So then Kaladin has a moment with Dalinar. They're back in Dalinar's war camp. He set Bridge 4 up with their own barracks.
Yeah.
He tells Kaladin that if he chooses to stay, he can be a captain. He will be he gets to...
In charge of all the bridgemen, yeah.
He's in charge of all the bridgemen. He gets to make their schedules. He gets to choose their duties. They don't have to go out on the plane runs anymore. They can do the safe stuff back in camp. And he wants Kaladin to become his personal guard.
Yeah.
So he leaves Kaladin to think about it. And yeah.
Yeah.
And then he he says, look, you really did save my life back there.
Yeah.
Here is a special cape. These capes are only worn by members of my family. I now consider you to be part of that.
Aww.
So sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bridge 4 are now the King's Guards.
Yeah.
So cool. And then
they went from nothing to another here.
Yeah. And then Dalinar has a final flashback. He sees the Honor Shard get...
Yes, he sees the world collapse around him.
Yeah.
And Tanavas turns to him and goes, I am dead and Odium has killed me.
Yes.
Yes. And it's like, oh no, these visions weren't, the recordings that were left behind. And
he also said something else important.
What does he say?
He said it was important to protect the Dawn Shards.
He says, I wish we had the Dawn Shards. Implying they don't have the Dawn Shards anymore.
But that means that there are some Dawn Shards. And there's more than one.
Yes, there is an S at the end of that word.
Now, when we were back in Hoyd's letters...
Yes.
Hoidy boy, the reason I thought that the letters were written by a shard is because one of the first letters mentions that he's hidden something really important.
An element that he's hidden as close to his skin, or...
No, he doesn't say that.
It's something like that.
He has been asked to protect something and he has hidden it somewhere really secure.
Yeah.
So that's what made me think maybe it was a shard.
Yeah.
And so now my current theory is that Hoyd has one of the Dawn Shards.
Okay.
And he's put it somewhere safe.
That's what he's protecting, yeah.
That's what he's talking about, protecting from Odion in the letter.
Yeah.
And then we get a wit final chapter.
Excuse me, you missed out my favourite part of the Dalinar Part 5, which is where Dalinar bursts into Elakar's room, beats the living hell out of him, goes, boy,
how can I forget?
If I wanted to kill you, I could do it at any time, walks out, also I'm f***ing your mother, and then leaves.
Sorry. How could I forget that?
It is the best part. It's the best favourite part of the book.
I can kill you at any moment.
Yeah.
I am bringing these princes together. You will make me head of the war.
Yeah. High Prince of War.
High Prince of War.
Yeah.
I will be uniting the princes.
Yeah.
You're putting a message out to them tonight. Good night. I'm going to join your mum.
Yeah.
So cool.
Legitimately my favourite.
As I said, Dalinar's just got good.
Yes. Yeah.
And then
we get the Hoyd epilogue.
We get the Hoyd epilogue. So they're outside the city.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm just waiting for a friend.
Just waiting for a mate.
I think he's something like, I'm just waiting for the storm to pass or something like that. And the guards are like, what is this guy on?
Yeah.
And then someone falls from the sky.
I think that, I don't know if he falls, he just kind of appears.
He drops.
Yeah.
I've specifically got the word drops here.
Okay, I think,
And falls to the ground.
Yeah.
And this person drops their shard blade.
Yeah.
But the shard blade doesn't disappear.
And you assumed it meant that he died, right?
Well, I thought that he was dead.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he's dead.
Because when you die, you drop your shard blade and it doesn't disappear. Yeah.
But for it not to have disappeared, it either can't be a shard blade.
Yeah.
Or he can't be dead.
Okay.
If it's not a shard blade.
Yeah.
I'm going with Nightblood.
Okay.
I want Nightblood.
I mean, the physical description does not match Nightblood at all.
I know, but it could be.
Could be.
So yeah, I can't.
Do you remember what he says before he drops to the ground and passes out? He says what his name is. He says who he is.
Oh, he's one of the Knights of Radiant, isn't he?
He's one of the Heralds.
He's one of the Heralds.
He's one of the Heralds.
That took me way too long. Yeah.
He is. Remember in the first part, you said that the Heralds, they leave someone behind.
Yeah.
And you thought that might be Zeth?
Oh, is that him?
It's him. He's back now after
Oh,
4,500 years
Oh no.
in that hellish hooks and fireplace.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Poor Tom. So, you've got some theories, right?
I think I've kind of thrown all of my theories in as I've gone.
Yeah.
There are things that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
So at the moment, have no idea how soul casting works.
Yep.
I'm assuming that I'm going to learn some more about that because that seems pretty cool.
Yep.
Have no idea how Stormlight works.
Yep.
I'm hoping that I find out some more about that because that seems pretty cool. Oh, they're all on their way to the Shard Plains.
Shattered Plains, yeah.
The Shattered Plains. So, like, I want Kaladin and Shallan to end up together.
You're a big fan of Kaladin and Shallan, aren't you?
I am. I'm more of a fan of Yasna and Shallan.
Obviously, yeah.
Obviously,
yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to go there for that.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime,
Kaladin and Shallan.
Yeah. It seems like they'd fit quite nicely together. They've both had, like, their traumatic times.
Yeah.
She's got a shard blade. He can show her how to use it. You know? It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. That's what I'm going for. Even though he's got no blade experience.
He's got no blade experience. I don't know what he's going to teach her, but okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the Pashendi.
Yeah. You will definitely
because we've got no information about them so far beyond the fact they turn up to battles and sometimes a shard bearer is there and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
So we know nothing about them, so I need more information about them.
Yeah, you'll get that, don't you? Do not worry, you will get that.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Shallan with her shard blade. I want her to finally use it.
I don't know what you mean. What
because she's got a shard blade. She's got a shard blade. So I need her to use that because I'm excited for that moment. Yeah. Because in order for her to actually use it, because she's hiding it so protectively, it's going to be a big moment. Okay. And she's killed before.
Oh yeah, has she?
She killed her dad.
Okay, cool. I can't remember how much you learn.
Well, I assume that that's where she got the shard blade from. Okay. I assume that she killed her dad. Okay, well, interesting. She took his shard blade. Okay. The Shattered Plains.
Yes.
I was wondering how they shattered.
Welcome to a mystery that we're 3 books in, and we still don't know what shattered the Shattered Plains.
So my current theory is at the moment, I don't know what happens if you take in too much Stormlight.
Okay. Interesting.
Because obviously I don't know enough about it to know what the limits are, how it works. So I thought maybe somebody took in too much Stormlight. Yeah. And they shattered them somehow.
I think that is a solid theory because we don't know, but it does seem it was something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the only other theory that I had was the Odeon stuff, but I've already thrown that down.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of the other shard that's on Roshar? Because Tanavast briefly mentions her. No? Oh, in Tanavast's last speech, she mentions that cultivation is also hanging around somewhere. Cool. So you've got Odium on his way, as you say. Yeah. You've got cultivation hanging about, I guess.
Maybe. Might be dead.
Might be dead as well. Might be dead as well. Yeah.
Honor's dead.
Honor's very dead.
Honor's dead.
Yeah.
That was definitely a good book ending.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, so how did you find your first Stormlight Archive book, Lucy?
Heavy.
Yes, they are.
As I said, there's so much going on. Yeah. That trying to work it all out is exhausting. Yeah. And it's quite a slow read because there's just so much packed in. Yeah. And trying to remember what things are and trying to just get my head around it all.
I reckon you've done a fantastic job. You've put lots of things together that normal people don't put together till rereads. But I think that's because you're looking to put things together, aren't you? You know this is a big, massive puzzle. And so you're like...
At this point, I'm quite used to Brandon books. I know that there's no such thing as like a casual mention. Like everything is important.
Yeah.
So like when something specifically tells me, take note of this, I'm taking note of it. Like the amount of times that I sit there and I like screenshot pages to like read again.
Yeah.
Or I'll like screenshot like bits of chapters and I'll send them to you with like my work, with like what I think is going to happen. And then after when I go back to write my notes, I scroll through and I find all of those and I use all of those. And yeah.
Yeah, I think you are having, it sounds like you're having a grand old time.
I am.
Yes.
But like when you've gone from literally reading like Warbreaker in 2 days.
Yes.
To then spending like 4 days reading
5 Warbreakers.
Well, like it's taken me like 5 days to read these books.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I'm failing.
Yeah, no. When Oathbringer came out, I took the whole week off work that Oathbringer came out, and it took me the whole 7 days to read Oathbringer.
Yeah.
So like, don't worry about reading slowly.
I'm just not used to reading this slowly.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But there's just so much.
Yeah.
That like, I'd rather go slow and take everything in.
Yeah.
Than rush through it and not really understand.
Yeah. I think you're going to really, really enjoy Words of Radiance, because the stuff you didn't like about this book, which was the dialogue chapters were kind of slow.
Yeah. I assume that like now that he is this big badass, in charge of everything, he's gonna become like a significantly better character for it.
And you just don't have the depression. You don't have the depression character going on bridge runs. I mean, obviously you do have Kaladin still in there, but he's not going on like bridge runs. He's not, kind of just miserable misery.
There's obviously going to be some character development there.
Yeah.
Because he's now in a new role and he's now got a whole new set of things to get his head around.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some Kaladin stuff.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Kaladin. Don't worry. Yeah. Cool. So thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you thought of this episode. We weren't quite sure how to format these Stormlight Archive episodes, because these books are so big. You can't just... Normally, you just read them and then we just talk about things. But you can't really do that with these because they're so massive.
Well, I feel like if I didn't sit and write notes on each part, I would miss out so much information. Yeah. So I just feel like it's probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah. So let us know what you thought of this format. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what your favourite parts of Way of Kings are, because there's so many good parts in Way of Kings. And like, it's great. Let us know who your favourite characters are. Oh yeah, favourite character? Syl. Syl? Excellent. Yeah. Syl is the best. Adorable. Cool. Yeah, we'll see you next time once you've read Words of Radiance. Yes. Cool. Have a good one, guys. Follow us on 17thshard.com. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Patreon. And then also give us money there. And then goodbye. Bye.